You know, there's one thing I know about quilts. There's more than one way to do one thing, or the same thing, I should say. And this week's quilt block, yeah, the Bearpaw, there's about a million ways of doing them. Yep, and everybody has their favorites. So with this video, I'll show you 3 different ways of doing it. Yeah, 3. Yeah, 3. I need to cut a little yardage because I ran out of pre-cuts, believe it or not. So I'm actually just cutting fabric here. What we're going to do in this block is I'm going to show you 3 different methods. The first method I'm going to show you, I'm going to call the 4-patch method because, well, it's a 4-patch, or there's a 4-patch in there. So it's basically a 4-patch and a number of half-square triangles. Second method, we're going to do a strip set again. Yep, we're going to sew a strip set and we're going to do a number of half-square triangles as well. Third method, I call it the square method, I guess, because basically you're sewing one square and then you got a whole bunch of half-square triangles around it. The Bearpaw is actually 4 different, it's like a giant 4-patch. You got 4 squares and then you could do a sashing in between all of those, or you could just sew them together. But that's one of the things that I love about quilting, is there's more than one way of doing things. And each way has, again, its strengths or its pros and cons to it. The other thing about quilting that I really love, just the camaraderie among, well, in my case, the women. A lot of times when I get together with quilting friends, it's just us at a sewing machine. And, you know, we're just having girl talk. Actually, we're just gossiping about each other. Don't judge me because you know you do it too. There's always some story about someone seeing so-and-so from the guild and then how fabulous or how awful they looked. Case in point. Girl, I saw Sheila yesterday at the Circle K when I was filling up my car. And girl, her hair was a mess, okay? She ain't looking good. Oh God, you guys are going to think I'm crazy for doing that. Yeah. How many of your friends have ever said that to you? Ooh, you know, I could make a wig out of this. Ooh. No, I need to cut fabric here. What am I cutting? Don't worry about this. We'll have the fabric requirements for you when I'm done. Welcome to my quilting space, by the way. Don't mind the mess, because this is an active and working quilting space. So it's not no studio like some of these other people have. Yep, there's the ideal and then reality. I'd rather live in reality. But, you know, I don't only quilt. I actually do a number of different crafts too. So one of the things that I was actually kind of considering was maybe I should start a video series about all these other crafts that I do. I do a little card making or paper crafting. And I also do, you know, a lot of people don't know this about me, but when I was going to college, I actually worked in a bakery. So I picked up some skills doing some cake decorating. So you might see a video in the future about that. Remind me to change the blade. So as I was saying, you know, I was thinking of actually doing some other crafting videos. Not just with quilts, but some of the other things that I do just to share. A lot of times if I don't feel inspired to sew something, or if I don't feel inspired to make another quilt, I will actually, or maybe I just want to create something but don't want to bother sitting at the sewing machine. So I will actually just pick up, I don't know, make a card or make a scrapbook of something or bake a cake. And of course, I'll eat the whole cake by myself. Don't judge me, because you know you would do it too if it was that good. Yeah, ooh, nice rum cake. Or banana cake. Yeah. Pineapple upside down. No pineapples. Although I do like pineapples in cake. I was kind of thinking of just making some videos just to give a little variety. Probably call it Get Your Sojo Back. Yeah, I like the name of that. Get your sojo back. Get your sojo back. Get your sojo back. I'm really delirious. Plus the fact that it's 2 a.m. when I'm filming this. And it's all for you guys. Because you guys give me so much support. And I love you. Okay, no, that's too dramatic. That's kind of catchy. Get your sojo on. Get your sojo on. No, I don't think I actually asked this question to everyone. You know, when you have yardage, there's a number. I know that a lot of quilters like to immediately cut it down to pre-cut sizes. So what pre-cut sizes do you guys cut your yardage to? For me, I usually cut it to a 5-inch square, like a charm pack size. And I usually cut it down to 2.5-inch strips or 2.5-inch squares. And for me, these are the sizes that work for whatever I need to do. So what sizes do you cut your yardage down to? Put a comment down below. Let me know. And if you're a beginning quilter and you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, read the comments when they start rolling in, because you'll find out that there are certain sizes that people sort of gravitate to. For me, it's a 5-inch square and a 2.5-inch square. And a lot of times the patterns that I do or the blocks that I do use those sizes. So it's nice to have 5-inch squares ready to go when you're ready to sew. Hey, ready to go, ready to sew. I like that. Let's see, what other things am I working on? I told you about the Get Your Sojo On. I'm really liking that title. So one of the other series that I'm actually working on is something that I'm calling The Block Doctor. Yeah. And it actually was inspired by a lot of the comments and the feedback that I was getting of when I started to, or when I shared my version or how I square up half square triangles. For a lot of people, that was like mind blowing. They never thought about squaring half square triangles the way that I do. So I kind of got to thinking, you know, maybe I should create a series just dedicated to the methods or explaining how I do certain things with cutting up or squaring blocks or creating, I don't know, just different methods or different quilting methods. And so I was toying around with the idea and I said, okay, you know what, let's give it a try. So in the next few weeks, I'm still kind of editing that video because it's kind of done in a different style. Be on the lookout for that. Okay, so let me cut the rest of this fabric up. We'll go to the sewing machine and we'll get these blocks started. So to make a Bearpaw block using the 4-patch method, you will need 5 2.5-inch squares, of which 4 of them will make a 4-patch. You will also need 4 3-inch squares. 2 of those squares will be of a background, and 2 of those squares will be of a print fabric. With these 3-inch squares, we will be creating 2.5-inch half-square triangles. So the first method that I'm going to show you is the 4-patch method. Now I call it the 4-patch method because basically it starts off with a 4-patch. Then you got a number of half-square triangles going all around it. So let's take a look at the fabric. So here I'm going to actually make these 2.5-inch squares, sew them together and make a 4-patch. Now with these 3-inch squares, I got 4 of them here. I'm going to pair them up and we're going to do the 2 at a time half square triangle method, where I'm going to sew a line right on this diagonal, or we're actually going to mark a line on the diagonal and then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that diagonal line. This 2.5-inch square is going to go right in the corner, and when we lay the block out, I'll figure out which way I'm going to put this. But let's get this block sewn. this looks a little weird right now. I know, okay? But watch what happens when I make these half square triangles. It's gonna be magical. So here we have our two, these square is the 3-inch square, and from this we're gonna actually get two half square triangles that in the end we're gonna square it up to 2.5 inches. So again, with this 3-inch square, I drew a line right there on the diagonal, and then I sewed a 1/4 inch away from that line. So this is the 2 at a time half square triangle method. And I'm going to cut this right there on that drawn line. Cut it right in half. And we'll do it for this one. Now, you don't have to get it right exact when you do this cut on the diagonal line. Like you see, yeah, that's a pretty bad cut there. If the camera will pick it up, because, well, maybe this camera will pick it up, because as you can see right there, yeah, I didn't cut it accurately, but you know what? It's not gonna matter because that is part of the seam allowance. And again, we're gonna square these half square triangles to 2.5 inches. You know, I was actually watching the video, or as I was editing the video once, I saw a little bald spot on my head. And I said, am I getting that old? Yeah. You know, sometimes your mind says you're still 21, but then your body's saying, no, you're 81. I had one of those moments. Am I done? Oh, I got all 4 of them. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Let's do a little cleanup here. Okay, so I got everything. Got my half square triangles all squared up. For now, I'm just going to finger press it. And you can finger press the seam allowance open, or you can press it over to one side. I'm just going to press it over to one side right now since I'm just finger pressing it. Okay, so this layout looks a little different because you got matching colors here. Now, basically, it looks a little odd, or it doesn't look like a Bearpaw because of the fact that you got matching squares here and you got a 4-patch here. So this is generally what the Bearpaw should look like, but because I'm using a 4-patch, it looks a little different. So let's switch it up. Maybe I can do it like that. Or like that. Nope. I'm going to leave it in this orientation. Or maybe I can swap it off. How about that? You know, I kind of like that. Nah, I think I'll just stick to this. So the variety that you can get using this 4-patch method is just basically up to whatever fabrics you put into there. Now, if I were to actually redo this particular block, I might want to swap out these two 2.5 inch squares for something different. But because there's a lot of matching here, it doesn't quite look like a Bearpaw, but it's in the Bearpaw layout. And so I'm getting a little bit of a different look. But I'm just going to roll with it because, hey, I already got it sewn and we already got it cut. So let's get this particular block sewn together. Four-patch method. You just got to press this down and we're done with this one. On to the next one. To make a Bearpaw block using the strip method, you will need two 2.5 by 6.5 inch strips of a print fabric, 3 2.5-inch squares of a background fabric, and 2 3-inch squares, one of a print and one of a background. With these 3-inch squares, you will be making again your half square triangles that will measure 2.5 inches. Oh, no, not that type of strip method, no. Okay, so in the strip method, here's what we're gonna do. I got these two 6.5 inch by 2.5 inch strips. We're going to be snowballing the corners, and so essentially it'll look, how did I put it? It'll look like this. It'll look something like this. Now these 3-inch squares, we're going to do the two at a time half square triangle method again. So that'll fill up this side. But with these 2.5 inch by 6 inch strips, we're going to snowball it with a 2.5 inch square here. Okay, so you can either iron the line down, you can mark the line. I'm going to iron this triangle or this 2.5 inch square so that I can get that diagonal line. And instead of sewing a 1/4 inch away from that diagonal, now we're going to sew right on that diagonal. And let's get sewing. 2 at a time, half square triangle, 2 at a time, half square triangle. Why am I in such a singing mode tonight? Well, yeah, the fact that it's almost 3 o'clock, ooh. And I do have to work tomorrow. Got my half square triangles. Let's bring back my design board here. Now, I need to go in which direction? Which direction is this gonna go in? I almost made a mistake there. So just be aware of the orientation as to which corner you need to actually flip this 2.5 inch square to. Case in point, I'm going for this. Oh, actually, here's the problem. This should really be a darker blue square. No, wait, that's right. Is it? I'm so confused. You know what? Let's just sew it and see what happens. But let me warn you about one thing though. Just make sure that whichever way you're gonna sew these triangles on. Now I'm putting it to the upper right corner here. You just want to do that consistently with all or with both of them. Notice that I'm putting my strips vertically. You can also do it horizontally here, but just make sure that you got the angle of these 2.5 inch squares going in the same way. Essentially, you just want to make it match to you just want to be consistent with all your blocks in terms of the angle of this. And I'll show you what I mean when we get all the blocks together. Crisis averted. So, got one of them sewn, and as always, before I'm going to basically trim away this excess, but before I do that, I just want to make sure that this is going to go all the way to the corner. And, oh, Jack, where are you? I didn't mean for you to come out tonight, but I guess I have to. You know what? I'm gonna have to call for reinforcements. I'll be right back. Okay, reinforcements are here. Okay, that's some good reinforcement. Now let's get this block together. Let's see, how did I do? Oh, marvelous. Marvelous. Now, this bear paw looks a little bit different because of the aspect of the strips here. But nonetheless, it still has the same idea. You just don't have the seam here. This is probably my least favorite method of making a bear paw block, just simply because, well, it just looks kind of weird in actuality. So, but hey, if you like making strip sets, this might be the method for you. Or if you have a whole bunch of 2.5 inch strips that you want to use up, this might be the method for you to do. Now, you don't have to do it in the same color palette. You can make it multicolor, just like with the 4-patch method. It's up to you. I'm just choosing to do it in this 2-color fabrics just to make it easy on me. Well, I just basically confused myself doing this anyway. So now we go to the 4.5 inch square method. So let's get started with that. For the square method, you will need one 4.5 inch square of a print fabric, then 4 3-inch squares, 2 of which will be a print and 2 of which will be a background, then one 2.5 inch square of a background print. And just like the other methods, your 3-inch square will be turned into half square triangles that will measure 2.5 inches. So the square method is very similar to the 4-patch method in that a lot of the pieces are the same. The big difference is this 4.5 inch square. Now, instead of having a 4-patch here, you're just going to cut a 4.5 inch square. Making the half square triangles is exactly the same as what you did in the 4-patch. Let's mark our diagonal line, and we're going to make our 2 at a time half square triangles using this 3-inch square here. Now, this square method is probably the most common way of making the bear paw block, and quite honestly, it might be the simplest way, but I wouldn't say it's my least favorite. The strip method is actually my least favorite because it's the most confusing. But, you know, you just don't get a lot of variety of fabrics in this method. Well, not that I'm using a whole ton of variety of fabrics anyway, but I kind of feel like the 4-patch method has an advantage because, well, you can put more fabrics in there or more colors in there instead of just the 2. If you want to put in variety, the 4-patch method is probably the best. Let's start sewing. Now, because this square method is actually the easiest and probably the quickest, I'm actually going to make 2 of them. You see, the bear paw is actually a combination of 4 of these all together. So here we have 2. I need another 2. So I'm going to make 2 of the square methods. Or actually, I should say I'm going to make 2 bear paw block. Let me drink. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to make 2 bear paws using the square method. Elixir worked again. That was only 8 of them. that felt like 8 million. My gosh. This calls for a drink. Okay, let's get this block completed. Now that's a bear paw. Okay, one more block to make. So let's review what we have. This was our 4-patch bear paw. Here's our strip method bear paw. And here is the square method bear paw. Well, that's one version of it. Here's the other version of it. Now, each of these blocks should end up being 6.5 inches. Now the bear paw actually is a combination of 4 of them sewn together. And so what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to sew all of these blocks together here. And the entire quilt block should end up being 12.5 inches. Now, you do see versions where there's a sashing. Oh, that block was turned the wrong way. You do see versions of it where there's a sashing in the middle here. Okay, I'm not going to do that sashing. I'm just going to sew the blocks together or sew the units together without the sashing in the middle. If you want to put a sashing in between all of the units, that's up to you. So let's get these blocks sewn together. And here is my bear paw block. Now the block should end up being about 12.5 inches and give or take your 1/4 inch seam allowance as always. Now I do like the fact that we have 3 different methods of how to do this with the square method, the strip method, and the 4-patch method. Now again, if you are going to do the 4-patch method, just be aware of what fabrics or where you're placing your fabrics there. If I were to redo this block, I would probably not use or probably choose a different color fabric for just making the 4-patch. But hey, you know, it's your quilt, it's your block, you do you. And if the quilting police come after you, send them to Judge Judy. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember that I have a couple of new series that will be premiering sometime later this month. So stay tuned for that. But until then, go out and create something. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. Put a comment down below saying what you liked or maybe even what you didn't like. And join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. You can post pictures of the blocks that you created, or just scroll through and gather inspiration from other Treasure Heart Creation Group members. And from time to time, there are giveaways exclusively for Treasure Heart Creation Group members. So use the link in the description box below to sign up. If you're on Instagram, post pictures of the blocks that you're working on using the hashtag THC5252. Well, that's it for now. Now go out and create something.